Hello everyone. I hope you all are good and having good time at home and well adapted to this new normal. Today I'm was the day which is the day which I am waiting since 31st May 2019, the day when I got inducted in this club. Because today is a speech which is the last speech of my pathway, and I want this speech to be very interactive. And I really wish that I could give this speech at TC3, Tower A, and Training Hall 4, right? That was the address. So I really miss that, and I really wish that as well. But apart from that, no worries. I'll try to make this session very interactive because this is the last mile. This is my last journey. Coming up to what I felt when I got the speech objective. So there was two things which came in my mind. One was to tell something about myself, but then I thought, why to make this thing free for you? In future, you will pay this to theater to know about me, isn't it? I know I am boasting myself, but fine, I can do that. The next thing which came in my mind was to tell you guys something which is very valuable and something which you can relate with and which will eventually make you a better person. And I hope that you guys totally come in line with my last mile. But let's go on to the topic. Are you guys ready for it? Just thumbs up or a nodding of head like this. Anything will work. Yeah, great. So what is emotional intelligence? Does anyone has any idea? Okay. So emotional intelligence is something which is to get acquire, to get manage the emotions of oneself as well as the emotions of the others, and to come up with why this emotional intelligence is needed. And in that case, I won't answer that. It's you who will tell me why it is needed. I can see some tensed faces. Don't worry, it's nothing like a quiz or contest where you need to do alt plus tab and find out the answer on Google and tell it to me. Nothing to worry about. I will rather want you guys to understand why it is needed to the content of my speech. But again, there's a prerequisite for that. When I will be telling my story, I want you all guys to capture a similar story of yours in your previous experience and try to relate with what I am saying. First, I'll tell you the components of emotional intelligence. And here I'll present my screen as well. All of you can see my slide? Any yes?
Yes.
Thank
Yeah, can you put that in the slideshow?
Yeah, definitely. So what you are seeing on screen are the 5 components of emotional intelligence. Now, when we talk about emotions, we all are aware of emotions, right? Nobody is there who feels like they are not aware of it. And that's what is self-awareness. Everybody is aware of our emotions. The next thing which comes up is, are you aware of the emotions of the others? Are you able to feel what others are feeling? And if it is, then that's empathy. The next thing which comes is self-regulation. Now, there are many emotions which gets erupted very easily, which will get triggered as soon as we get through some kind of incidences, maybe emotions of overwhelming or emotions of anger. So, but point is, you should be able to regulate those emotions, and that is self-regulation. Coming up to the motivation part. How many of you have made a motivation or a goal on 1st of January, which is known as my resolution day? All right. And how many of you have continued it for a week? Is there anyone who has done it more than a week? Has he continued his self? Okay. So if you guys have continued for more than a week. Believe me, you guys are amazing. You guys are not like me. My last year, my New Year resolution ended, I think, hardly for 10, 12 hours. So what is that intrinsic thing or extrinsic thing which lets you drive your goal or lets you drive your resolution? That is motivation. The motivation can be extrinsic, which is means from other person, third person, or can be intrinsic as well, self-drive motivation, which is very good thing. And the third and the last thing is social skills. So being a Toastmasters, all of us wants to talk, and try to socialize and try to get contacts, networking, everything. So you all know what is social skills. Coming up to the factual thing of how this, what are these five characteristics of emotional intelligence are like five fingers of our hand. If any one of them is missing, you won't be able to have a grip on emotional intelligence. So I know enough of lecture on emotional intelligence. You guys must be feeling like, oh, shit, again, after the job hours, he is giving me this. But no problem. What I will do now is I'll try to tell you a story, because a story is something which everybody wants to hear, even a child, even an old man, everyone. But this story, as I mentioned earlier, I want you all to relate with yourself. So the story is all about is a story. Before I tell about my story, I want you all guys tell me, do you think I'm intelligent? Now please tell yes, otherwise I'll prove that you guys
Yes,
are also
yes.
not intelligent.
You are more intelligent.
Yes, yes.
Great. I
Yes,
wanted
you are
that.
intelligent.
More
Perfect,
intelligent.
perfect, perfect. I wanted that. Great. So before I start my story, my story is all about something where I behaved abnormally, where I erupted at someone, where I shouted at someone, and later on I regretted. So I'll give you 30 seconds time to think about such incident of your life where you acted in that manner. So your 30 seconds starts. I hope you all have recalled it. If not, then go on my with my flow. So my journey starts like this. So this was my trip. The trip which came up in January 2020 when my parents came to Chennai. My parents always wanted to go to South India trip, and they are very enthusiastic regarding visits to temple. The only thing which comes to their mind when they go for a tour are temples. So my trip started from Chennai. It went to Trichy, it went to Rameshwaram, then Madurai, Trivandrum, Kanyakumari, and then back to Chennai. I covered this many places in just 5 days. If you want to have any kind of travel contact or advisory, you can contact me. I know I'm good at it. So what's the thing? Where was the problem in this trip? The trip problem started at Trichy. So when we had to go to Madurai from Trichy via cab, before we started our journey, I told my cab driver that I want GST bill, and we had a very clear-cut monetary what will be the money which we have to give. It was clearly summed up on the distance basis, and everything was very clear. We started from Trichy, as he said that he has the GST bill. We all agreed and we moved on from Trichy. We went to Rameshwaram. We stayed that day at Rameshwaram, and next day we went to Madurai. We went to Meenakshi temple. We visited all the places, and then he had to drop us at railway station. So when he dropped us at railway station, I asked him for the GST bill. He said he doesn't have that. Now, at that point of time, I felt like I'm cheated because GST bill was really required for me for some claim purposes. I called the person who was the authority over that driver. He said he will send it to me soon. But then I called the person who gave me the contact of this travel agency. And this person was one of my friend's friend. So my friend, if she is, just consider her as X, and her friend consider it as her Y. So I called Y and told him that you have cheated me because your driver didn't give me GST bill, and moreover, he is saying that I have to pay more. So that person was giving justification on from driver's side that I have traveled more and I have used this, I have used that, and moreover, he was blaming me for few other things. So these all things got accumulated, and at one point of time, I told him, I will not give you any penny. Do whatever you want. Shut the f up. And at that point, I threw my phone and I yelled at him. I cut the call, and the people around me, my brother, my parents, and the drivers, all were stunned. They were all looking at me as if an alien is sitting next to them. After 1 or 2 minutes, I realized that I have overreacted. I called my friend, Miss X, and told her that Mr. Y has cheated and he is a cheater. She was not able to accept it because she thought that he is a great person. She called him and asked him about the incident. He told him that the fault was on my side. He told his justification to her. She again called me back and she was very angry and very upset with me. Later on, when I realized about what my parents were feeling, I felt that I have overreacted. I tried to reevaluate myself whether was that great or was that wrong. If I consider the effects on the stakeholders, so who are the stakeholders? Stakeholders in my story were Miss X, Mr. Y, my parents, and the driver. The driver was the least bothered about all this stuff. He took his money and he went back. Coming up to the effect on Miss X. Miss X is a very good friend of mine. But after this incident, I'm damn sure that our bond got broke to some extent because we don't talk the way we used to. And if not, she has a image of mine in her perception that I act abnormally in certain situations. Going back to Mr. Y, I have never met Mr. Y. But when I realized that an act which I did out of anger has resulted in a sin, I felt very regretted and I called him thrice. I told him all the 3 times I told him the same thing. And I am feeling very bad. Please forgive me. I shouldn't have done that. And every time that gentleman told me, no problem, it's happened, it happens, it happens. But every time when he used to tell that, I used to feel that he is hiding his emotions. He is just trying to cover it up. And the person, why, though I haven't met him yet, I feel that whenever he also has a perception about me that I am not a great person. And the most important stakeholder in my case were my parents. They came up to a journey to enjoy. I didn't met my parents like for 8 months. I wanted this 5 days to be the best days for them, but this incident ruined everything. Whatever peace we gained through this journey of from Rameswaram, Trichy, and Madurai, all shattered in just 5 minutes, just because I acted in a very abnormal and inhumane manner. My mother was so terrified that she said that how I managed to live at Chennai. Someone will come and shoot me up if I behave like this. She was very terrified, and I could see it in her eyes that she didn't even sleep the whole night. And next day we had to go to Trivandrum to Padmaswamy temple. The whole journey to Padmaswamy temple was not at all good. Everybody was gloomy and everybody was sad. And that's what I didn't want it at all. Now, coming up to this story. This story was something which you all must have thought that yes, I didn't act it well, but this was a very bigger picture out of it, right? But in certain cases, this kind of things happens on a daily basis. Like we all fight with our siblings, aren't we? We all fight with our spouses. We all fight with our juniors or subordinates at office. And when we do that, we feel that we are superior to them. We can order them. But we don't realize what will be the effect on them if you behave like this. Incidents which can affect your relationship with your subordinates or any third person is not necessarily it has to be very big. It can be as small as just a lingual conversation on a maybe on a Zoom call itself or maybe on a virtual call itself. Just imagine if I call you and I shout at you saying that you guys are worthless, you guys don't do anything, I'm not able to accept anything, don't do talk, blah blah blah. What you will feel like? You will feel like remove, just leave the meeting. But you can't do that because I'm superior to you. And people in this case don't respect you. People in this case are just following their rules. For example, I'll give you two examples, both on two sides of a coin, one heads, one tails. So talking about the tail side, I won't talk about the organization, but it was not my previous organization. It was my internship organization where I worked for 6 months, and there was a person who had a subordinate under her. She was basically a female. So I don't know what was going on around them, but he shouted at her and that made her cry in front of the whole wing. And he was telling her, you are worthless, you can't do this job was so easy, and blah, 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 blah. So the effect on her was very immoral, I will say, because she got started and it was visible to all of us. But whom do you think is the loser? Do you think that girl was the loser, or do you think that man was the loser? In my opinion, that man was the loser, because everybody knew that that guy can't tolerate any kind of external pressure on him, and that guy is not good to work at with. Moving on to the effect on the girl. Girl though got shattered, but she could have been dealt with in a better way. She could have understand. The person at least would have able to know about what she's feeling up to, get to know her the empathy. But coming up to the positive side of the manager, and that person was the person from my previous firm. I will tell you an incident. One evening, I called him and I asked him, sir, I need this information. And I called him, before I would have said this, I called him 5 times. And he didn't pick the phone. So 6th time when I called him and said, sir, I need this information, that guy shouted at me and told that I'm in a meeting, cut the phone. And then I cut the phone. The next day, when I went to the office, before I could have said anything to him, that gentleman told me, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have talked to you like that, but I told you that I was in meeting. And I realized that that was my fault. The previous day itself, he told me that he will be in meeting that time and not to call him, but still I called him. And instead of me apologizing to him, he apologized to me. And this was not just one incident. The whole 3 years went like this. He never told me my mistake. He always tried to rectify it rather than pointing it out. Instead of telling, you shouldn't have done this, he used to tell me, this could have been done in this way. So both things drives the person to the same result. It's all about how you see it. When I was leaving the organization, I asked that person, from where did you get this? Like, I have seen, you're the best manager I have seen. And from where you got these traits? He told me, I got this traits from my previous manager. And here goes the chain. Like, if you are great, people will follow you. And if your people will follow you, other people will follow you. And that's how you make a great place to live in. Moving on to why part of it, as I said earlier in the starting of the speech, why this emotional intelligence is needed. Emotional intelligence is needed because you can understand person in a better way. You can understand the reason of the person, why he is not responding to you in the way you want it. Try to rectify it and get the solutions out of it. And to end my speech with a fact, I will tell you a very surprising fact. 80% of the adult success comes not from emotional intelligence, but from emotional intelligence. And I hope that you all would have got connected to some kind of the incident of your journey, and This is what my last speech was, and I hope that you all enjoyed or got some kind of insights on my last journey. Thank you so much.